Hey everyone, it's Mace1370. We're going to summon for ML Krau. As you can see, we have enough mystics to get there, but hopefully we don't have to use all of them. I feel like I've pitied so many mystic heroes over the last few rotations. I did get Dark Corvus early, so that was nice. Out of this pool of heroes, I think I would like some regular Corvuses, because over the past few months I've foddered so many of them, just assuming I would never get Dark Corvus, and if I ever did, you know, it'd be easy enough to eventually accrue enough to imprint him. So I think he's only at like a B imprint right now. Ooh, that's a purple shiny, and that's right out the gate. Pop, pop. Oh, there we go. That's insane. That's amazing.
Code number 00, standing by.
Oh man, that sets us up so well for next time. Jeez, I don't even know what we're gonna do for the rest of the video, because that's like 1 minute in and we pulled him, and look at all those mystics left over. That's nuts. Well, I guess we can rank him up and build him. Let me pause the video really quick and I will go summon some penguins. Okay, with a little editing magic and wailing, we now have a fully awakened level 60 Krau. You can see these are the stats that I built him on. I wanted him speedy, at least 240 speed, and then as tanky as I could get him on that speed. I ignored effect resistance for this build. And whenever I could get attack on an item, just as a extra substat that didn't really get a lot of rolls, I tried to do that. I think getting a little bit of attack on him, just as a bonus, is nice because you don't have other stats to worry about, and it'll increase his S3 damage. We can take a look at his items here. This weapon for now is just a filler. I just didn't have anything better that I couldn't, and I didn't want to steal something from someone else. Medium stats, so this can definitely be improved. The helm here is mostly just for speed. It has some attack and defense on it. These immunity chests are always really strong just because they start with such high rolls, and they're 88, so they roll high. The crit chance is wasted on him though, so it could be improved. Hard to do that though, just given that these rolled pretty high right here in health and speed. His neck turned out pretty well. It has a nice speed roll, and then it has some defense, and also the flat health on plus 12 actually isn't horrible for him. The base attack roll of plus 8 is exactly the type of thing I'm looking for with him, because you don't need any other subs. Just getting this base attack 8 roll helps buff his attack up a little bit and will increase your damage kind of for free. Here's another filler piece. These arena pieces are really just, they almost always end up being filler. You can never really roll them well enough for them to replace a well-rolled 90. But this had a decent amount of speed and defense. I wanted a good amount of defense on him, probably at least 1600, just because you don't want him to be too squishy. He doesn't have any other really mitigation other than his shield, which is pretty weak. So having defense on him is, I think, important. He doesn't need crit chance though, so that's wasted here, and this particular build doesn't need FRES, so this piece could improve a lot. His boots turned out pretty well, obviously speed, and then they have good defense and health rolls. A little much into attack for my taste. I would prefer more into the defense and health, but fine for our current setup right now. So this is not a perfectly optimal build. I think with better gear you could get either a little more speed on him or more health would be optimal. Another way you could potentially build him would be like RGB Krau and drop his speed down to around 200, give him more health. Defense is good where it is here, and then you'd want FRES if you're going down that low, down to about 200 speed. FRES would be important to help prevent you from getting taunted or something like that, and preventing you from using S3. We can see my RGB Krau here just for comparison. Since they share the same base stat lines, I could just swap his gear over at some point to test the other build. So he's around 190, and you have about 24k health, a little bit less defense on this build, and 137 FRES, which isn't quite enough. I've been trying to get a better neck for my Krau. I haven't even 90'd this because it's so bad. It just all went into crit chance and broke my heart. Ideally, you'd have a little bit more into FRES, speed, and defense instead of this, and then I think he would be optimal. So this is essentially the build, another build that I think you could try for ML Krau. I think the speedy build will be better because it'll let him turn cycle a lot faster and get off more S3s and ramp up that damage. But maybe time will tell. In terms of artifacts, I'm running Adamant Shield. I'm planning on running him with another Knight typically whenever I draft him, and you know, the first knight you want to have Aureus. It's the more powerful, you know, protection effect. Adamant Shield is also very strong though, so it's nice having both. I think there are other artifacts you could consider running on him. Probably not Heliglance, because you're going to want to face against AoE teams with him. But you could run, let's see, potentially Steadfast Gatekeeper, just to CR push him even more. That feels kind of like a win more button though to me. If you're, you know, facing him against a bunch of AoE teams, you know, you've drafted him correctly, so I think he'll shine there. I don't think he needs more CR pushing, but it could be strong. You could zoom around the CR bar like Falcon or Cleary. I think Crown of Glory is another strong option. It increases his defense, which is nice, and then by removing souls, you know, whenever the caster suffers an AoE attack, he's going to prevent cleave teams from popping off a lot of soul burns. So this could be a strong option, particularly in like a 4 horseman type comp where you have a lot of knights, and some of those other knights are going to be holding your Adamant and your Aureus. I maxed his S3 here. This is the main thing I want to test, and I think his biggest strength is his damage on the S3. I'm starting to max the barrier. This I'll go all the way. I'm still a little plus minus on if it's worth maxing the S1. You know, arguably, most of his turns are going to be spent doing S1, so having more damage on that I think would be nice. I'm just not sure how much more damage, you know, you're going to get, and is it really worth 11 molas or however much it is to do that? I think we'll see. I think I'm still up in the air on it. So that's how I'm building him. I will test out the slower, tankier build and maybe do another video on that if it works well. So let's take a look at a couple RTA matches and see how he does. Okay, so this is the first match I entered after building ML Krau. I wasn't planning on forcing him. The opponent pre-banned Rylet and gets first pick.
Don't put all your faith in me.
They take FCC, which is a fairly common first pick that I'm seeing in Champion. I don't know if it changes higher up.
Now isn't the time to hesitate.
So I assume they're probably going for a Bruiser team, so I take Krau and Ruel. I think they're a strong combo. Ruel has powerful single target heals, and so it lets Krau, you know, get his S3 off. They take Alencia and Seaside Bologna, so definitely going for a Bruiser composition. And I decided that I'm going to hard counter the SSB with Rowana, and then I'm also going to take Dark Corvus. So it doesn't matter who he bans here, I'm going to get a unit that's strong against SSB. And now I'm hoping that he takes another AoE unit so that I can take ML Krau at the end here, and then ban the S10. And that would give me 3 units that are all very strong to SSB, so I'm getting at least 2. And that'll be most of where his damage comes from. If I ban the S10. He takes Kayron, so that is another AoE unit. So I take Last Rider Krau and then I ban away the S10. I ban S10 because even though Last Rider Krau has AoE damage, he's, I think, slow to ramp up even on, you know, a fast speed build, and S10 can do a lot of work, you know, especially with Book. You know, my team isn't really equipped to handle her. So the opponent ends up banning the Dark Corvus. I'm not sure if that was the right decision. I think maybe they could have controlled the Dark Corvus with Fallen Cecilia and banned the Rowana, because Rowana is going to be pushing my team up quite a bit here. So I open with S3. You can see it doesn't quite remove the FCC barriers on the other 3, but she's on Aureus, and therefore she gets spillover damage. So FCC puts up Skill Null, and then the opponent's Alencia gets a turn.
You really are persistent, aren't you?
The opponent uses S3 on Alencia, I assume to strip away the immunity.
Shall I have a go?
And surprisingly stripped off the immunity from my Ruel, who has quite a bit of effect resistance. And that Alencia must have at least 60-70 effect resistance. Maybe they just got lucky, or they built with, you know, even more.
I'm sure fortune will be on our side today.
So you can see there the Rowana CR pushing up my team. I'm just going to start working on the Kayron here. He's, you know, one of the high damage threats I can take out early.
A roaming heart forever wandering.
And my team is super tanky. I have effectively 2 Soul Weavers and 2 Knights. And this is, I think, the type of matchup where ML Krau will really shine. He helps provide damage mitigation, you know, with your other Knight. And you have a ton of sustain, you know, with 2 Soul Weavers. And you're fighting a team like this that does not have a lot of sustain and has moderate to high damage. You know, a Bruiser team with moderate to high damage. You know, and it's AoE damage, so, you know, Krau's gonna not only get his cooldown faster, but his, you know, berries are gonna help mitigate that in addition to the Adamant Shield and the Aureus.
It's too late to back out now.
SSB gets off another S2 here, pushing my team forward up again. So with the speed buff, my Krau is at like 300 plus speed, I think. Plus with the CR pushes from Rowana, so he's taking a ton of turns. And I decided just to burn the S3 here just to get even more, you know, damage going. Because I'm curious how often he'll be, you know, using this in this type of setup. Because this is pretty much the best case scenario for ML Krau. And you can see there, like, he's already started. There's a lot of pressure on the Fallen Cecilia.
Away with you.
And my tankiness is such that the opponent just can't do anything to me.
Let's start
So
with something light.
ML Krau is just going to eventually kill them. He's kind of, you know, filling like a Dark Corvus type role in this scenario, but he's also bringing mitigation, as well as immunity buff. So they go ahead and concede because I think they see that they don't have a way to win. Okay, so in that last match we saw ML Krau as part of a really tanky team, just slowly grinding the opponent down, kind of like a Dark Corvus would. In this match, the opponent pre-bans Fallen Cecilia, and whenever I see that, I'm worried they're going to cleave me. They get first pick, and they take RB, a very aggressive, you know, start to their draft. I get 2 picks, and so I want to take a Knight out the gate just for some damage mitigation, so I take Krau. He's one of my Aureus holders. And then since they took RB, I'm going to want to take ML Haste at some point, so I just decided to grab him now. That way I can see how my opponent's game plan is developing. So they take Basar here. Still could be Cleave, could be some sort of CC team also. Probably Cleave though, given the RB pick. You'll sometimes see CC players take RB, I think, just to take it away from you, because if they're playing one of those fragile CC compositions, you know, with like Cerise, Athletica, Fire Tenny, stuff like that, RB is a strong answer to them because they're so squishy. He eventually dies, even if he's stunned the whole game, and then, you know, wipes their team when he comes back. So here they took Spectre Tenebria, so that indicates to me that they're much more on the Cleave route. They've taken 2 strong damage dealers, and, you know, a stripper and a CR pushback guy. So I decided I need to pick some of my anti-cleave heroes. One of my strong ones is Elena. She's built really fast, so sometimes she'll just flat out cut, you know, the enemy team. Other times, you know, if they do an AoE attack in the beginning, she'll just push right up and then put Invincible on my entire team. It makes it very hard for Cleave to deal with. I also like taking Seaside Bellona against Cleave teams, because, you know, they often have multiple attacks and she doesn't need to take a turn to get some damage in. She's such a big threat to them that they sometimes need to divert their attention to her rather than deal with, you know, someone like Elena or ML Haste.
Leave it to me.
The opponent takes Tywin, who's a really strong pairing with Basar, kind of an old school combo, but it, you know, was strong then for a reason. Tywin offers a lot of def breaks, and he can really just, you know, wreck your entire team fast. They also take Faithless Lidica, so that's a CR pusher for them, and another stripper. So I debate about who I want to take here. I think it might have been reasonable just to contest speed, you know, with like a Cerise pick, and then ban the Basar probably, or perhaps the Tywin. But the the opponent had a lot of AoE. I wanted to see how ML Krau would do in this scenario. He brings damage mitigation, he brings shields, he also brings some AoE damage himself, so I thought it would be interesting to try him as an anti-cleave pick. So all four of my heroes are quite tanky, and they have an Aureus holder with, Krau in the front. Here you can see ML Krau gets his barriers up. It's not fully molded, so they could be bigger.
Dark blade.
RB gets greater attack buff, unfortunately.
Go easy on you.
And I had to get rid of the Basar, during the ban phase, just because he would totally wreck, my team's ability to put up buffs and stuff with ML Haste, or with Elena, whoever went through it. So now Tywin goes and lands a bunch of death breaks. So I was pretty scared at this point, because Spectre Tenebri is getting a turn next with Soulburn. So I feel like a couple of my units are going to get deleted here. Luckily, the death break did not land on Seaside Bologna, so I think I got lucky, very lucky there.
It's too late to back out now.
S10 gets a turn. I wasn't really sure who he would kill here. I assume he probably wanted to try to kill the SSB, and honestly I thought he was going to go for ML Haste, but he goes for Krau. I guess he was scared of his S3 AoE, maybe killing S10. His S10 is pretty squishy, but there's no way Krau is killing her with 8,000 health. He only does like 5 or 6 on his first one. But the opponent kills Krau. I think that was a mistake on their part. They could have gone for probably ML Haste, I think would have been the best bet. Because my people don't have Unbuffable now, so I can get rid of RB and get a nice thick shield on Seaside Bologna. It doesn't really matter so much that my Krau and my ML Haste are def broken. The Krau's low health, so he's going to go down. But ML Haste has a ton of life left, so with that shield he can probably withstand another couple hits. But Seaside Bologna getting the shield means she's going to live for a while now. Because RB's not going to do anything to her. Not with an Aureus holder. And now she's firing off again, doing even more damage. Almost killed the Faithless Letica, but didn't quite get there. So I think my ML Haste is about to get a turn and probably would have just killed off the RB to lower their damage, but they conceded. So that's all. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Later.